Hey, welcome back, everybody. Happy Sunday. Great to see you all. Hopefully, we're having a wonderful end to the weekend and getting ready for the week ahead. And boy, oh boy, is it going to be a busy one in the weather department with really two major storm systems I'm watching, potentially kind of three, depending on how you look at it. We're going to be talking about all of those in today's video. Now, I do want to say thank you to all of the new subscribers. We've had incredible growth over the past couple of days. Past couple of videos have really kind of, blown up a little bit comparatively speaking to other videos on my channel. So again, thank you so much to everyone that has joined. A little bit about me, if you are new, well, first of all, welcome. My name is Gerald. I am a meteorology major entering the second half of my junior year at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. Go Niners. Yeah, it's great to have you. Great to see you. And like I said many times before already, it really does mean the world to me that you are here. Now, if this is your first time viewing and you haven't already subscribed, or you're a returning viewer and you haven't already, go ahead and do so and hit that bell for the latest notifications. It's a great way to stay up to date, not only with the current storms, but with what's coming on down the pipeline through the rest of this winter season. Also, like the video, comment, let me know where you're watching from, and if you have any suggestions or feedback, feel free to leave that down there as well. I think that's all. We can go ahead and get started here with kind of what's happening out there. And you'll notice on satellite imagery that things are starting to pick up a little bit. We're beginning to see what is kind of the first hints of that pattern change with a couple of storm systems. One, we do have kind of moving on through portions of south central Canada and even kind of clipping the north kind of central part of the United States here. And you can see this big area of kind of flow that's getting trapped between that and our southern jet stream, which is currently kind of working through the central part of the country. Now, all of this is going to work together, combined with a very strong, almost bowling ball cutoff low down here, even south of the Four Corners, very far south compared to where you would normally see low pressure here, begin to really spin up and fire off a very strong low pressure over the south central plains. This will ride up through the United States, bring impactful weather today, tomorrow, and then even later on into the start of this coming week, where we could see severe weather, snowfall, and heavy rain. Now, that's the first component. The second component is what you're seeing out west right now. It's kind of hard to see, but you can kind of see the beginning of a lot of cloud cover out here. This is the start of another shot of cold air and another trough that is working through. And eventually what's going to happen is both pieces of energy are going to combine over the central part of the country. And that's when this big pattern change to cooler weather will begin and kind of get going here. Now, we are going to start today with Meteorology in Minutes, which, again, is a segment I personally really enjoy doing, and hopefully you folks enjoy it as well. And today's a great way or a great time for it because, again, we've got some exciting stuff ongoing. So these are our 500 millibar height anomaly, or not height anomaly, heights and winds. And you can notice, obviously, the higher, or I guess the brighter colors, those are stronger winds in the upper levels. The areas that are, less bright or just no color at all are weaker winds in the upper levels. And like I talked about, it's kind of two pieces of energy. Here's our first one, and notice almost this circular shape to this trough. One reason that is important is because of the vorticity and the diffluence we get with these circular shaped troughs. Again, almost kind of cut off. Is another way that you word them, but this one isn't quite cut off. It's still kind of connected to the polar jet stream here. Just a little bit. But what happens is, again, you've got these very strong winds on the south side of this trough where I have that arrow. And then over the center of this kind of low pressure, you have very weak winds. So if you put a pinwheel here, and again, just kind of ignore the location of it, but if you put very strong winds this way and weak winds this way, it's going to start to turn counterclockwise or cyclonically, at least in the northern hemisphere. So we call this cyclonic vorticity. And you can see that on our vorticity map as well. Again, people always throw around these vorticity maps and don't really tell you what it means. Well, this is what it means. You notice where I just showed you that we have very strong positive vorticity. And another little tidbit is generally vorticity on Earth is always positive. It takes a lot to get negative vorticity, and the reason for that is, well, the Earth is spinning in a positive manner, so you need some, pretty strong wind differences to create negative vorticity. But it's this positive vorticity advection that we're going to see out here that is going to lead to very strong cyclogenesis, or just a very strong low pressure getting going over portions of the southern Great Plains. So again, kind of a fun little meteorology in minutes there. And again, I'm not going to talk too much about the other stuff, but I will mention on the surface map, you can see this beginning. Again, you're seeing this low pressure begin, and we've been talking about diffluence a lot recently as well. Again, a ton of diffluence over this region due to all of those curving height contours in the upper levels. So again, that's your quick little meteorology in minutes, and today I think we actually did do it in a minute or two instead of maybe 5 or 10 minutes like some other times. But I like to talk. If you couldn't already tell that about me, you'll probably find out by the end of this whenever it goes almost 30 minutes, most likely. All right, so that's meteorology in minutes. Let's go ahead and talk about what's happening out there right now. Then we'll break down this storm system, at least the first one. Then we'll talk about the near term a little bit, and then we will move on to that bigger storm system on the way for the eastern United States later this coming week, and who's going to see impacts from it, how much snow we're going to see, what kind of cold air. And all the fun stuff. So we'll start in the east and then work west here on our current watches, warnings, and advisories. Pretty clear up and down the East Coast outside of some fog this morning. And even some frost advisories up here into the triangle of North Carolina, even back down towards Uwharrie National Forest, and then out towards the Outer Banks into Norfolk. So again, it was a chilly morning for a lot of folks, and that's one of the reasons that we also have that fog. Again, the cooler the temperature, the less moisture the atmosphere can hold, and you're more likely to get fog and dew and all that sort of stuff. So that's really the only story going on in the east. Obviously, fire danger is still happening up into the northeast. That has not changed and probably won't until we get that beneficial rain this coming week. Now we'll move to the central part of the country, and again, it is active here. We do have showers along that entire kind of boundary that we have setting up shop. So we're seeing rain from Michigan all the way back down into Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, into south central United States here into Texas. And again, this is where kind of the core of this coming storm is going to form. And because of that, we're going to see a lot of rain for some folks. So Oklahoma City back down into the Lubbock area of Texas, into Amarillo, Tulsa. This entire corridor here is going to be under the gun for the potential of flooding over the next 24 to 48 hours as we see a lot of rain falling over the same areas. And I'll tell you, the winds are going to pick up too with this storm. We've got a pretty strong pressure gradient that is going to form. Now, other than that, we get out west, and the story out here is mountain snow, coastal rain, and again, a lot of snow on the way. We'll talk about those snow totals at the end of the video, but trust me, you ski lovers out here into the Northern Rockies are going to be happy to hear that the snow machine is not slowing down, and if you have any plans to go skiing for Thanksgiving or Christmas, it looks pretty good right now out this way as that snowpack has really been built up pretty good here towards the end of the fall months. So you can see all that precipitation falling out this way. All right, let's go ahead and time out the storm system a little bit here for you. Again, we're going to start with the upper levels. This is getting into this evening. You'll notice that big trough that we talked about again, even becoming kind of negatively tilted in nature. So you get a negatively tilted, almost circular not lurking. Oh, I guess it is kind of lurking down there a little bit, depending on how you look at it. But you get a circular looking trough with a negative tilt to it, and that's a prime recipe for a very strong storm system to form. Again, a lot of diffluence out over this region, a lot of lift in the atmosphere, and that even combined with kind of the left exit region of this jet streak just a little bit. Again, we've got plenty of forcing here for a storm to get going, and that's going to happen. But what's also going to happen is the storm is going to occlude pretty quickly. So again, the peak of it's going to be over Texas, Oklahoma, maybe even up into Kansas, and then into Missouri, Nebraska, Iowa. But after that, as we get about 48 hours or so from now, the storm's going to occlude, meaning it's going to hit its peak intensity, then that cold air advection and warm air advection are going to meet up. And again, the storm's going to kind of get suffocated a little bit. But that does not mean the impacts from the storm will end. You'll notice, obviously, those wind values weaken as the storm occludes and moves up into the Midwest. But it's at this point that we're then going to merge with all of this cold air coming in behind it. And that's when snowfall chances are going to increase through the northern plains. And that's when our next kind of cycle of storminess begins out into the east later on this week. Now, one of the big kind of concerns with this storm is severe weather. In fact, we do have a slight risk up today from really much of west central Texas, Midland, Abilene, back even into Fort Worth, through much of the I-20 corridor here, up towards Wichita Falls, into Oklahoma City, Fort Worth, again, even back down into the northwestern suburbs of San Antonio, under the threat for some strong storms today. And that does include a tornado threat. Now, we're at a level, I guess, kind of 2 out of 5, if you will, on the tornado threat. But 5% chance of a tornado within a 25-mile radius. That could definitely lead to, some strong storms forming here that could produce a couple tornadoes. So you need to be on the lookout for that. But again, wind is a concern here, as well as maybe a little bit of hail. Nothing showing up here from the Storm Prediction Center, but you can never completely rule it out, especially with these cold upper level lows. If the storm forms in the right place and gets tall enough. Sorry, I'm telling y'all, this coffee, it's great, but it's not quite kicked in yet. You can see some hail. And today's not going to be the only day of it. Tomorrow, another threat area, much larger threat area tomorrow, and kind of what we would call a conditional threat, meaning we could kind of say, or we could kind of see a boom or bust with this. So some areas could see bigger severe weather than maybe expected, and other areas could see not much at all. But really the heart of it, right over the Dallas-Fort Worth area, the I-35 corridor from we'll really say Oklahoma City down all the way towards Waco, could see the worst of the storm activity tomorrow. And once again, that is going to include a tornado threat in a large area from Austin all the way up into Kansas City, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Fort Smith. A lot of folks going to have to worry about some severe weather tomorrow. And then I'll even mention day 3 here. By the time we get into Tuesday, a marginal risk along the Gulf Coast. This is actually kind of due to the remnants of Tropical Storm Sarah, which I omitted from today's video. But again, we are going to see a couple of impacts out of that in the form of maybe a little bit of enhanced spin and some severe weather on Tuesday. All right, let's time this thing out for you and get into the good stuff. So this is getting into this afternoon. Again, this morning and afternoon, it's really just some scattered showers through Texas, even back into New Mexico, including some higher elevation snow showers. Things will really pick up tonight. You'll notice this is about the time the sun is setting, and that precipitation really cranks up over West Texas and into portions of New Mexico. We'll have to watch some of these kind of isolated storms forming well out in front of all of this. It's kind of outside of that threat area, but do not rule out maybe a quick spin up or a quick storm that maybe has some stronger winds than you might expect there into East Texas through the DFW area. I'm going to need to watch for that, but the flooding threat really cranks up during the overnight. Again, those flood watches right into this region. This is where the heaviest of the rain is falling and moving kind of over the same areas in a not very quick time. So again, a lot of rain going to fall overnight tonight, maybe 3 to 5 inches plus in spots. But also, it's going to be a nocturnal severe weather threat. You'll notice some of these storms pretty feisty in the overnight through that area. And by the time we're waking up tomorrow, again, this is about probably 6, 7 a.m. Central Time. We've got quite the squall line right here into South Central Texas. So we'll need to watch that for severe weather in the morning. We'll also need to watch right along the warm front where we could see some enhanced spin as well. So a couple areas of severe weather starting tomorrow morning. And again, that's why we have such a big threat area for your Monday. And all that continues into the afternoon hours here. The storm does lift north pretty quickly. So by the time we're hitting about noon, clearing out for many folks. But again, we've kind of got, the cold front's really back here. So we've got some enhanced lift on the backside here. We've got plenty of lift in front of it. And then here's your warm front. So the warm sector on this guy is really going to be all in here. And you know what that matches? Basically the entire Storm Prediction Center outlook for tomorrow. So again, we'll see what happens, but definitely could see some strong storms. If we get any more instability than what is currently modeled, then it's going to be worse than what's modeled. And oftentimes that happens where the day up, things kind of uptrend. So make sure you're staying updated for that. And then through the evening hours of Monday, this thing pulls northward. And still a severe weather threat Monday evening down here into Louisiana, maybe Arkansas, down into East Texas, western Mississippi. Again, we're going to get some enhanced lift. The remnants of Sarah will kind of be scooting up through this way. And some of these storms look pretty feisty. So need to watch out for that for sure on your overnight Monday into Tuesday. And then that gets us towards the midnight hour and things begin to clear out through the South Central Plains. Now we'll move this north a little bit and start talking about the Midwest. Today, again, pretty nice. A couple of showers moving through as we actually do have a little bit of a front associated with that storm system up into Canada. So again, along that boundary, we've got some showers. And you can even see that on radar this morning. In fact, it's a bit rainier than maybe what the models projected. And, that's not too surprising. That happens from time to time. But again, right through this region is where we're seeing that rain, and that will probably continue through much of today. If we get enough sunshine, that could help to maybe tamper down on some of that cloudiness and all. But again, kind of a cloudy, dreary day for a lot of these folks. But then it's overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. Here comes that storm out of the south. Heavy rain through Iowa, Nebraska, northern Missouri, and moving up into the Great Plains. This is Wednesday evening. Again, not too much of a severe weather threat here, but still definitely a threat right along that warm front. So anywhere onto this side of the storm needs to watch for some strong to severe storms. This again is Monday evening, even into the overnight. Can't completely rule it out as the storm pulls northward. But it's right around here. This is Tuesday morning. This is when the exciting stuff happens for you winter weather fans. Again, the storm is occluded at this point. It's beginning to weaken, but here comes that cold air on the backside with our next upper level trough. You'll notice rain quickly changing to snow here through North Dakota. This is again Tuesday morning. And eventually becomes heavy at times throughout much of the afternoon Tuesday. We've got an all-out winter storm through portions of North Dakota, even northern Minnesota on the backside of this thing. And all of that continues even into Wednesday afternoon. Now, I'll tell you, the models are kind of all over the place with the snow event on this one. So I think the best way to look at this is our probability map. What is the probability of seeing heavy snow? This is at least 3 inches falling through or from our NBM or our national blend of models. You'll notice down to the south, nothing. It's going to be a severe weather threat. To the north, again, we start getting into 70, 80% chance of at least an inch of snow falling here through much of North Dakota. Back through Minnesota, it's a tougher forecast. We've got more 30, 40% chance here, kind of into the Fergus Falls area, Detroit Lakes, even up into, let's see if I can find some town names here. One of the nice things about this map is you can zoom in. Warren, Argyle, Stephen, kind of these areas of Minnesota. So, if, you just happen to live there, let me know. That'd be kind of cool. But really, the highest chance of heavy snow is going to be through North Dakota. And that's where I think, on our best days, we could see 5 to 8 inches of snow. Worst case, maybe 1 to 3 inches back out this way. But again, going to see some snow out of this one nonetheless before all is said and done. All right, so that was kind of the storm system. Let's kind of work around the storm a little bit and talk about the near term out west and out east. I don't want to just talk about the storm for the next 48 hours because, again, there's other active weather and other storms, including out west. And again, this is this afternoon, heavy mountain snow, heavy rain in the valleys and into the coastal regions. Again, convective showers moving ashore, and it feels like that's been the theme so far this fall for many of you out into the PNW. So definitely let me know how much snow you're seeing out this way too. If you're in the higher terrains, let me know how much rain you've gotten. Again, the stereotype is always that Seattle and kind of coastal Oregon is this rainy, dreary place. And yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of what it's been recently. But again, if you're in the higher elevations, heavy snow falling through this afternoon, through this evening, even into our Monday here. This is, again, overnight tonight. By the time you're waking up tomorrow morning, more of the same convective rain, convective snow showers, and just kind of continuing the overall trend into the northern Rockies, staying quiet down through California, at least Southern California, Northern California getting in on the action. Same story for Nevada, Utah, and many folks here. Now, this is getting into Monday afternoon, more of the same. Again, this big pocket of cold air moving right through the northern Rockies, bringing plenty of orographic lift here and plenty of snow squalls to higher terrains and plenty of rain showers and even squally rain weather to some of these lower elevations. And all that continues even into the overnight Monday into Tuesday. All right, East Coast, what's up for folks over here? Again, it's going to be active for some people and other people not so much. Now, if you're up and down the eastern seaboard, a pretty nice couple of days before things go downhill during the middle of the week. But again, back out towards the plains, as we talked about, are going to be a bit more active. So this afternoon, again, models kind of underdoing precipitation into this region. So maybe uptick that a little bit from Illinois through the Chicago area back into Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, up into much of Michigan, seeing some active weather here as well. And all that going to continue to work on through your Sunday afternoon as that storm begins to form. Now, we get overnight tonight. This is past the midnight hour. Some showers could work through the northeast as, again, a weak front kind of tries to swing on through here. Could see a couple showers from Erie back up to Buffalo, even into the Finger Lakes. And into the Adirondacks and even the Catskills of New York by tomorrow morning. Now, at this point, you'll notice, again, the real active weather back out into the southern plains, but our warm front extending all the way out like this. So we are going to see warm advection in front of this guy kind of through portions of the Midwest throughout your Monday. And again, do not be surprised if this rain extends even a little bit further east than maybe the model is showing here. And again, could be heavy at times as that warm front lifts north. And by the time we get to Monday afternoon, again, a well-defined storm system out west, really quite a beauty to look at from a meteorological standpoint. But other than that, if you're from Georgia, north up into the Mid-Atlantic, a pretty nice Monday in store. It's going to warm back up a bit here compared to what it was this weekend. It was pretty chilly, actually. And then we get into, again, the evening hours of Monday into your Tuesday. Heavy rain falling along the Gulf here from Louisiana along the squall line up into Arkansas. But at this point, the storm becomes occluded or begins that occlusion process, and the severe weather will die down outside of the Gulf, where again, we're going to get a little bit of enhanced spin from the remnants of Sarah. And then it's really just a rainfall threat and then that eventual snow threat that we talked about up into the Midwest and northern plains. All right, that's the near term. That's storm number one. Now, the part that I'm sure many of you are here for is storm number two. And we'll kind of talk about that one now. So, again, I'll preface this by saying the models really haven't changed all that much, but this is a tough setup to forecast. So, what I'm going to show you, especially when we get to the precipitation side of things, do not take it verbatim. Do not say, all right, it's going to be snowing or raining at these exact times in these exact locations. It's more of an overview. Now, once we get into kind of we'll say Tuesday and into Wednesday, we can start looking at mesoscale models. That'll show us a much better idea of actual snowfall totals and exactly who's going to see the worst and the best of it. But with these low pressure systems, and these upper level troughs, it's kind of tough to forecast who exactly is going to get the worst of it, as really kind of mesoscale features can decide some of that. So again, with that said, though, let's go ahead and talk about it. This is Tuesday morning. Again, here's what's left of our previous storm system. Here is our big pocket of cold air moving through the northern Rockies. And what's going to happen is the two are going to combine. This is the GFS model, the latest that just ran. And you'll notice what happens. We get this really strong upper level low. In fact, look at this jet streak on the bottom. And again, I talked about cyclonic vorticity earlier. Think about how strong these winds are compared to how weak these winds are. I mean, this is an incredible amount of spin we're getting here. And as that spin is advecting this way, again, that's going to likely lead, combined with all this diffluence, to quite a strong storm system forming here. And it's probably going to go from really nothing to a pretty potent storm pretty quickly, just due to all of these ingredients. And that's what the GFS shows here. Now, eventually, this is Thursday afternoon. This is when I think things are going to really pick up in terms of snowy weather. Again, strong upper level low here. We've got this pocket of cold air, and we've got crazy upper level winds here just flying right into the Appalachia chain from North Carolina northbound. And again, if you look at this jet streak, we're going to have already enhanced lift into that left exit region, right over that pocket of cold air and right over these higher terrains of West Virginia, potentially even up into Pennsylvania, and maybe even down into North Carolina. Depends on the exact track of things. Now, another thing that this look is kind of favorable for is a deformation band of snow somewhere. Now, where exactly? Again, that's the mesoscale models that we're going to kind of have to wait for. But I think anywhere, and I'm about to draw in a very large circle, but anywhere into that region, again, I think is going to get to kind of a surprise of maybe, a little bit more snow than what's modeled currently. And then some other people are going to get robbed a little bit, where some of the models right now maybe show a good amount of snow, and then we get there and there's not a whole lot that happens. And that's just kind of the way it goes in meteorology. Again, this is why we have meteorologists, is because we're not perfect at the craft yet. And no different than doctors. So, again, that's kind of the look there. Now, one other thing I will add with this look is, again, we talk about diffluence. We've got a ton of it over the Northeast. So this could lead to a couple things. One, heavy rainfall, maybe snowfall in spots, but also I would watch for a secondary low pressure to form off the Northeast coastline. We've got a bit of a baroclinic zone and upper level divergence. That's going to create some lift here. So we could see kind of a two-pronged threat here. We could have our cold low that is occluded, and then we could have a coastal low that also enhances kind of some lift and some moisture here. So it's a look for very active weather either way. And I'll tell you, the GFS is not the only model showing it. This is the exact same time. This is Thursday morning on the Euro AI model. This is the European model, our Canadian model, the GFS that I just showed you here, the GraphCast GFS, which is a new one, the Icon model, and then the UK Met model. So they're all slightly different, but they've got the same overall picture. And what that tells me is somebody's going to get it good. Now, again, the little differences are very important on who gets the worst of it, but we are likely to get a strong storm to form here that brings impactful weather to somebody. All right, let's time it out for you here a little bit. The latest GFS. Again, we'll kind of, let me refresh the page. It's running a little bit slow here. All right, here we go. So this is going into, let me back this up into Tuesday afternoon and evening. Again, here's our occluded low that has weakened at this point and again brought the snow to North Dakota and portions of Minnesota. Here is a very strong cold air advection on the backside of that. These are the remnants of Sarah down here, just to mention it for you folks seeing some rain down that way. Into the panhandle of Florida, maybe overnight Tuesday. But what happens is, again, we get all of this cyclonic vorticity advection. We get a ton of upper level divergence. And notice what begins Wednesday afternoon is moisture begins to pick up here through the Great Lakes, Ohio, and West Virginia. And it's going to start as rain for a lot of folks. And you're going to be saying, Gerald, you were wrong. It's raining. What are you talking about? Then that cold air is going to hit the backside of this thing. And you'll notice here comes that low pressure, again, forming quite strongly. Now, the latest run of the GFS is further north than it was. But again, I showed you all the models. Some have this thing down here. Some have it over here. Some have it over here. It's going to be in different locations. So don't take exactly where it's at, to heart. But as this occurs, what's likely going to happen is on the south side of this low pressure, a deformation of band of snow is going to form. That's just heavy snow. It's going to be, kind of coming down pretty quickly and hard and heavy. And then we're going to also probably see some lake effect, on the parts of this as well. We're getting a lot of cold air on the backside here. And at the same time, I talked about a coastal low in New England. Look at this forming. So it's a ton of moving parts here. But again, you'll notice as I move it ahead into time, still, this is Thursday morning into Thursday afternoon. Heavy mountain snow for West Virginia, heavy snow on the south side of one of these lows, and heavy snow on the other side of another one of these lows. So we've got deformation bands all over the place. We got one in the northeast. We got one into the Midwest. We've got a heavy northwest flow in West Virginia. It's a complicated setup, folks. So again, who sees exactly what is going to change? But I can almost guarantee you somebody's going to get heavy snow out of this setup. It's just a matter of who. And again, we'll move this even further ahead into time. This is Friday. Check this out. Still heavy northwest flow snow. Heavy snow into the northeastern part of the United States, even outside of some of the higher terrains. And again, this is why the location of this is so important. What happens here, again, along kind of one side of these low pressures is you get, again, what I've been referring to as deformation bands. These are just areas of better kinematics and upper level thermodynamic support for snowfall. So if this low pressure is over here instead, again, you could be getting this deformation band even into major cities of the Northeast. Now, is that my forecast? No. But again, like I said, it's going to move, it's going to wiggle, and people are going to see different impacts. But either way, we get this into next Friday. Heavy snow into the Northeast, into the interior Northeast, even some of that snow breaking containment of the interior Northeast. And if I take a sounding over a place like Boston, let me show you why, again, we could see snow outside of just the normal lake effect regions. Here's one of the reasons why. So this is our temperature profile. All this doesn't matter. Let me pick a color you can see and then you'll know even better. All this stuff doesn't matter. Just focus on this box right here. This is what we call a skew T log P, which doesn't really matter, but it just shows our temperature profile. This blue line, or kind of that I've now made pink, that is our freezing line. Right here is where it crosses to above freezing, and that's less than a kilometer above the surface. So most of this is saturated and below freezing and into our dendritic growth zone, and then it's just a little bit above freezing at the surface. You get one of these deformation bands to form over this, it's going to fall as snow. I mean, this is going to crash the column, as we say. We're going to get evaporational cooling, and you could get a heavy snow somewhere in the Northeast outside of the normal Great Lake regions with a big, strong upper level low like this. And on the GFS, I mean, it hangs around a while. And then look at this, another storm right behind it. So it's going to be an active stretch here for sure. We'll show you the European. I kind of skip this ahead. Again, same story. This is Wednesday afternoon of next week. Precipitation begins to form. Low pressure begins to form. And again, it's kind of this double barrel setup. We've got one storm along the northeast coast. We've got another storm that kind of isn't really as strong on the European, but still you got this big block of cold air bringing plenty of snow. European brings that snow even further south into the mountains of North Carolina. You folks down to East Tennessee could see some flakes with a setup like this. Kentucky could see some flakes fly. Ohio. And then look at what happens. Again, strong low pressure into the Northeast, a little bit less cold air on the European, but I'll show you the same thing. Let me take a sounding over northern New Jersey, for example. This is well outside of the normal, lake effect regions and outside of the higher terrains. Check out this column, folks. I mean, this could be a very heavy wet snow that falls very easily. It's not out of the question. with something like this. So again, you're seeing a lot of rain, you're seeing a lot of snow, you're seeing a whole lot of everything, but just know somebody's going to get a lot of snow. Right now, I still think the highest chance of seeing a lot of snow is going to be into the mountains of West Virginia, and then into the higher terrains of the Northeast. But places outside of there, don't be surprised and stay tuned because things could change quick here. And either way, this is, a pretty potent storm, a lot of wind, a lot of rain, and then again, that snow, and then it works on out of here. And then the European, again, also brings another storm system in the 7 to 10 day range, but, we'll save that for another time. All right, so yeah, I was going to show this, basically just backing up what I just said. You get these big spins, and what happens is you get little pieces of vorticity that break off. This is why we're going to potentially see low pressure in multiple areas. Again, I kind of already talked about this, so I'll kind of skip that one ahead as we've already crossed the 30-minute mark. So this one's going to be even longer than I wanted it to, but that's okay. All right, so snowfall totals. Let's get to the good stuff here. I'm going to show you all the models and then the blended models. This is the European model now through next Sunday evening. The heaviest snow, obviously, into the higher terrains of the Northeast and into the higher terrains of the Alps. But again, places like North Carolina on the European, at least the mountains here, picking up on heavy snow. We're talking 3 to 5, 6 to 8 inches on those highest elevations. West Virginia, maybe more than a foot of snow, not out of the question, again, on the highest peaks. But you'll notice, again, some snow even here into the Ohio Valley from Chicago back down into Indianapolis, portions of eastern Kentucky and Tennessee into the Cumberland Plateau. Could see some flakes fly. And then a lot of snow up here into the into the northern plains from our current storm system. And then the Rockies, yeah, we talked about that. A ton of snow going to fall out here. Northern California, we're talking 75 inches on those highest peaks. Again, ski season going well for you folks. Canadian model, again, you'll notice kind of similar areas, just higher totals. And generally the Canadian overdoes it, but you get the idea. Same places. Higher terrains in the Northeast, higher terrains of the Appalachia chain, and then some lake effect regions getting the highest of it. But there is still this stretch of the Ohio Valley from the Cumberland Plateau up through East Kentucky, Ohio, Indianapolis, Chicago, Springfield, that kind of gets in on some of those heavy totals as well. And we'll show you the GFS. A little bit different here. You'll notice a big pocket of some heavy snow in the GFS out here. This is actually due to the other storm system, I think. So if I back this up and go like 168 hours on the GFS, yeah, you'll notice that isn't there. So that's for the next storm system that the GFS is showing. So maybe ignore that one a little bit more. But either way, yeah, you're seeing a lot of snow up into the Northeast on the GFS and so on and so forth. We look at the blended models, and I think this is the best way to look at things right now. Heaviest snow totals still showing up from North Carolina up into West Virginia and into Pennsylvania. Heavy snow totals into the higher terrains of the Northeast. And then I do think flakes will fly outside of there into the Midwest, the Ohio Valley. And like I said, don't rule out flakes flying even outside of there along maybe the I-95 corridor. Now, would we get a big snowstorm there with huge accumulation? I don't think so, but we could see flakes still fly with a setup like this. All right, I'm almost done here, I promise, folks. So the probability of at least an inch of snow falling, this is the blended models. This is a great tool to use. Again, you'll notice these highlighted areas. Ohio, again, having that chance, but really the higher terrains, we're about 100% chance of this happening. Into West Virginia, down through North Carolina, up into the higher terrains of the Northeast. And I'll even move this back in time a little bit. You'll notice we have chances in Indiana, Michigan, up into Wisconsin, and even outside of there into portions of the Northeast. Now, chances of at least 4 inches of snow falling. Again, still very high into West Virginia, North Carolina, and into these highest peaks of the Northeast. So, again, I do think we're locking onto those areas for the highest probability of a big storm. But again, areas outside of that, I do think we'll pick up on some sort of snowfall before all is said and done. All right, temperatures, final map, I promise. Warm weekend again. We're warming back up in the east after a kind of cool start to the weekend. Cold out west. Stays that way through the early part of the week, but here comes that shot of cold air, and we cool down pretty significantly by the middle and into this coming week. And stays cool for a little bit. Now, the GFS wants to reinforce more shots of cold air into the long run and even keep things kind of chilly through Thanksgiving and even to start December. Will that happen? We'll have to wait and see. Things are going to change, but I'm watching it for you, and we'll definitely keep you up to date in the long run. Alrighty, folks, I appreciate you hanging in there with me on this Sunday. Hopefully you're having a wonderful one. And again, have a great rest of your day. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you all tomorrow.